It's time for another edition of the Daily Racing Form, a weekend preview, and we're going to head on out to Del Mar this weekend for the Pacific Classic and a huge Saturday of racing. Gino Buccola alongside my good friend Scott Shapiro. Scotty, what's great about this time of the year, we're getting into football season. I know you love to play some football games, college and the NFL, and right now Daily Racing Form has a bunch of sportsbook offers. When you check out the sports betting section, there'll be news. You can get reviews on all different sports books. So for the next few months, while you're playing football, college football, this will be a nice resource for you to get some promos, to get some bonuses. Check it out, sports betting section over at drf.com. But we've got a lot of ground to cover today, my friend. We're going to talk about the Pacific Classic in this first segment, the Grade 1 Pacific Classic. It's going to go as race number 10 on Saturday. It was run in 1991, first one ever won by Best Pal. How about Cigar? He was trying to win a 17th in a row, and it got snapped by Darren Go back in 1996. I think Julie Crone was the first female to win $1 million race when she won one of these in the early 2000s. And Scotty, we've seen horses like California Chrome, Flightline, Pleasantly Perfect, Lava Man, Shared Belief, Beholder, Candy Ride, Free House. Some awesome horses win this race.
We also saw Arrogate lose this race after losing to San Diego. That's one of the more memorable ones when I was there. Beholder, of course, one of the more memorable ones as well. But this one shaping up to be absolutely fantastic. We've got an East Coast invader. We've got a 3-year-old taking on older for the first time. And they aren't just your average invaders or horses moving up to take on older. They're some of the top in their division.
It feels like a real big three in this race, and one of those big three is Fierceness. He was second in the Breeders' Cup Classic last year, Scott. He was actually favored in the Whitney, and he's looming up in the Whitney at the top of the lane. He opens up like 2 lengths. He looks like he's going to go on and run really well, and then he just flattens out. Pretty disappointing effort from him as the favorite in that race and as one of the top older horses, but they decide to ship out here to Del Mar instead of facing that same group of runners, and he gets the inside draw in a race where he's probably the classiest of the speed. I'd like to see them maybe put the pedal to the metal with him in here. What do you think about Fierceness in this spot?
I think they're going to put the pedal to the metal. This is a horse that needs things his way to at least some extent to be at his best. Was disappointing last time. I've never really bought into this one's chances in the biggest of races unless he was on the outside or had things his way. He was on the outside last time, hit a wall, but you could maybe make a case, Gino, that it was a fast pace. He moved early. The race did fall apart to an extent, but still, you would like to see him run better. I think his best chance is to go to the front. They do have that long run into the first turn to sort things out. That will help this horse, but when he gets caught on the inside, he does not love it.
Yeah, his best career race actually came in a race that he didn't win. It was when he was second in the Breeders' Cup Classic, going 1.25 miles at Del Mar, and it was in a really fast pace that he was right a part of. I wonder if they just try to replicate those circumstances and just go really fast, and you're going to 1.25 miles at Del Mar. We move to Midnight Mammoth. I've been really impressed with his last couple races, Scott, but he's still going to have to level up once more to compete with the top 3 in here. I could see him in the 4th spot or competing with some of the others, but this doesn't seem like he's quite on the level as these top 3 yet.
No, I would think it would be a surprise if any of the top 3 that we'll get to don't win the race. But I think this is a horse that is one of the ones that makes sense to kind of hit the board.
Agreed.
And take advantage of a less than A effort from one of the top 3. Distance, not an issue. I don't think 1.25 miles are going to be a problem. He proved that in the Gold Cup. And I like that Craig DeLassy gave him time off after that monster effort last time, so I'm not as worried about regression. I think he makes a lot of sense here in the underneath spots.
Yeah, he's really honest, and as you pointed out, distance won't be an issue for him. Ultimate Gamble will try Stakes Company for the first time. He got put up via DQ most recently. It was in a small field. He just seems like he's going to have to get faster based on the speed figure, Scott.
Without question, his last couple of races against 4-horse fields, this is a whole new level of competition. His one recent win, other than the DQ, was in wire-to-wire fashion. I don't think he's fast enough to make the lead. They're trying because he's probably a he is a $1.75 million purchase. I think that's why they're probably trying a spot like this, which is very ambitious.
Nisos is 5 for 6. He's only lost one time. And in that race that he lost, he finished second, and it was a dead heat second. It was his first start in like 15 months. So he's never really done anything wrong in his career. Scott, we're watching him win the San Diego. This was actually the farthest race he's ever run. So this was a mile and a 16th. Things opened up really nicely for him. He was sitting just behind the lead. He got a good opening and he pushed through. This will definitely be a tougher group than he faced there. But he did face Mindframe and Banishing and Bookham Dano and some good horses earlier in the year sprinting. I wonder if he's a true mile and a quarter horse. I mean, when you have a race like this and you have three that feel like they're top contenders, you can kind of poke holes and you're going to have to figure out which one you want to stack in which way. I could have gone in any way, honestly, with Nisos and Journalism and Fierceness, but I ended up putting Nisos third of the three of them. It's not that I don't like him or respect him, but I do wonder at a mile and a quarter if he is at his best going longer when we haven't seen it yet.
We have to see it. That's a great point for a horse that's going to be a short price in here. And I bet you Bob Baffert, he's on the pulse of things. I'm sure he's still at this point of his career. But he's a little bit surprised, though, that Journalism and Fierceness showed up in this spot where
Agree.
he probably wanted to try to find out about the mile and a quarter over this surface, particularly because it's where the Breeders' Cup Classic will be. If the horse can't get the distance, he'll run him back in the two-turn dirt mile. But I mean, he is so good. He's done nothing wrong. His loss is one of his best races. That was the best field of the year, probably in any race. So, yeah, Nisos is hard to knock, but I'm with you on the distance question marks, which is kind of all that you need to poke holes in someone in this field.
Indispensable is moving in the right direction. I liked his win last time out. He's a 4-year-old who's only made 2 starts at 4, so he just feels like he's peaking right now. Paco Lopez is actually going to be riding him. I think he has 5 or 6 mounts on the Saturday card. He'll be around on Saturday at Del Mar. It just feels like Indispensable will still have to continue to step forward, though, to really compete with any of those. He's kind of in that range that you were talking about with Midnight Mammoth for me, where I could see him maybe being a horse that if one of these three didn't fire, he could be a horse that runs third or hits the board. I'm just not sure if he's quite good enough to beat all three of those horses.
Yeah, similar opinion here. Third off the layoff. Don't hate him. He's run well in all 5 starts over the surface. Should be primed for his best, but this is a big step up, and he has to also prove that 10 furlongs. But Paco, talk about him in one of the other previews. He's on fire of late.
Journalism, no knocks on this multiple grade 1 winner. He won the Preakness. He won the Haskell. Now, I will point out his 2 most recent wins, he has had to really work in both of those, and they were both over the same horse, over Gosker in the Preakness and in the Haskell. But once he kind of gets rounded up and going, he builds up some momentum. He gets these big strides late. He's such a cool horse, Scott. They had to make the decision. Did they want to take on Sovereignty again, or do they want to face older horses? They stay at Del Mar because if he runs well here, he won't have to ship anywhere. He can sit right here. He can run in the Breeders' Cup at Del Mar. If they go fast early on, he feels like he's the one that can take advantage. And when you compare him to Nisos and Fierceness, Journalism has been a mile and a quarter twice this year, and he's been a mile and 3/16. He might have a lot more fitness and foundation than his other 2 main rivals.
Yeah, I could talk about this horse all day long. I love him. He's so cool. He's danced all the dances for the most part. And now instead of the Travers, he'll take on this tough field. But I trust him the most at a mile and a quarter. I know he's going to come running. We'll see. He's going to have to run down tough horses here, tougher than he ever has. Sovereignty's been ahead of him and run away once, and then he's been behind him and run him down twice, right?
We get to lure him in, Scott. He's an 8-year-old, but he was just third in that really small field last time out. I just couldn't really make a case for him.
He has to go, though. That's the one thing I'll say. I'd be very surprised with Edwin Gonzalez aboard if he doesn't try for the lead. Maybe he's not good enough. The 8-year-old gelding, though, needs to be forward.
I respect Tarantino. He's a 7-year-old who's been in the money in 7 of his last 9, but this is the toughest field he's ever faced.
Yeah, this is definitely a horse that has to be at his best to maybe hit the super in here. The outside draw might not be an issue. I think his best races are when he's forward, and I don't think he's fast enough against this group to be just that.
As we move to selections, Scott, for the Pacific Classic, I ended up going with Fierceness. It's funny, I haven't really ever used him very many times on top, but I'm wondering if they can get the trip from the inside and just go. I'll go 1, 6, 4, 5. I put Fierceness on top of Journalism and then Nisos. Scotty's going to put Journalism on top of Fierceness and Nisos. So the same big three in just a slightly different order. Let's take a quick break. When we return, we'll stay at Del Mar for some more graded stakes action.
Alabama, Florida State, years Georgia opened with Clemson, and then Oregon and LSU and Les Miles opened with Oregon and smacked them around. Alabama knocked around USC and Wisconsin and Vatech for years. The SEC fears nobody.
Stop it. I love the SEC. Put them on. By the way, if you just had an only SEC college football playoff show, it would be absolutely wonderful. How about that out there, SEC backers?
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
So the Mets, they went through a rough stretch where they were terrible, but, they win the series versus the Mariners. They're kind of turning things around just a little bit. Like, the offense has been there. You said they were in a playoff race. It's tough to say, they need to win. It's like trying to trust teams in different sports at the end of the season. But the hitters are hitting right now. Lean into the Mets, lean into the Phillies. These teams have something to play for, and they're cooking right now.
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
I think what you saw last year is it's tough to say, it's projectable, but I do think it's something that when you're taking shots here, you're looking for a bye-week coverage wide receiver on your roster or a guy that has upside who's young enough to grow into more of a role. I think the development of Bo Nix was stunningly good last year. If we can build on that again this year, I think Marvin Mims is a really good selection as the 57th wide receiver off the board.
Fantasy Sports Today, only on SportsGrid.
What does he do after he hits the home run? He walks over to the fan and he pats him on the back and gives him a high five. This is the same fan that's been going after him for the entire game. Dave Roberts after the game saying, hey, look, every once in a while, it's kind of funny to see Shohei, who's got this wonderful personality that we almost never see. It was great to see him do that with the fans.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Breeders' Cup Win and You're In qualifying races is going to go as race number 11. It's the Del Mar Handicap. Scott, I love as a gambler when they have one of the big races as the final race on the card. It's the closeout race for your pick fours and your pick fives, and you get really good horses and formful horses in there. And in this particular race, what's really cool, the horse way to the outside, Gold Phoenix, he's actually won this race 3 years in a row. He's a 7-year-old, so he's trying to win this race for the 4th consecutive year, which is really unprecedented in this modern era of horse racing. We don't even see horses run for 2 years, period, let alone win a race 4 years in a row. Scotty, let's meet the field for the Del Mar Handicap. Balnikov, kind of a deeper closer. He finished 4th most recently. He was actually right behind Stay Hot. I think we have a replay of the two of them finishing 3rd and 4th in the Eddie Reed. I actually like Stay Hot a little bit more coming out of that because I think he can sit a little closer, and Stay Hot feels like he might be moving in the right direction. I wonder if Balnikov, we might have seen some of his better races. This was one of his more recent okay efforts, finishing 4th here, though.
Yeah, he made a 3-wide middle move in there, so understandably was a little bit tired in there. But I think I'm with you. I don't like that he's a way out the back type closer here, and I think his best days are behind him, and maybe his best races are at a bit shorter distances.
Adios Cole will have to step up off of a most recent win. What's tricky about him is that he's stepping up, and he's also trying way longer distances than he's been at. So it's a couple variables that are real question marks.
Yeah, and he loses Juan Hernandez, who gave him an absolutely beautiful ride against Leicester last time out. Lots of questions to answer. The tote board likely to show it. Edwin Gonzalez takes over, an aggressive jockey. I would assume he'll be somewhat forward.
Nitty is next up, and he's in sharp form, Scott. He's won 3 of his last 5, including the Grade 3 San Juan Capistrano. This is just tougher than what he's been facing, and with his running style coming from way, way out of it, I don't know if he's going to get the setup in here where they're going to be flying early on, and it's a really fast pace.
I think he's another one that's a cut below and going to be way too far out of it. Nitty, I'm up against it here for Leonard Powell and Armando Ayuso.
Stay Hot is interesting to me. I'm not positive that he really is a 1.375 horse. We've never seen him go this far. But when you look at the way this race could shape up, if Final Boss gets the lead, I could see Stay Hot sitting second or third maybe in this race, Scott, getting a really nice trip and maybe getting the jump on those deeper closers like Gold Phoenix. So third start of the form cycle, third start as a 4-year-old. I'm just expecting a really good effort from Stay Hot in here.
Yeah, if he can get the distance and then gets the trip, I think that puts him, set for a career best to find out just how good he is. You do notice though that three of his four wins came in his first 4 starts, I should say. So hasn't necessarily been winning as much of late as he's moved into this class level.
A Tietlin is a horse who was supposed to run in the Eddie Reed. He kicked a wall in his stall and had to miss the Eddie Reed. So it was disappointing that he looked like a player in that race. But if you look at his workouts, Scott, it really only looks like he may have missed one work based on the timing of that. I like him in these longer distances. My only concern is just that it's been a few months now since we've seen him. But look at that race going 1.5 miles in the San Luis Rey. He actually beats Gold Phoenix, and he earns his highest ever Beyer speed figure in that race. So I don't think he's overmatched by this group. I'm just a little worried he might be like a race short.
Yeah, it looks like he would have been perfectly set up for that race, going 1 mile in the grade 1 off that 5th place effort to stretch out against a little softer competition. It concerns me a little that his career best numbers at a further distance, not shorter, are at this one, but he shouldn't have any problem getting the distance, to your point.
Mondigo is grade 1 placed. He got back into the winner's circle in August, and what was positive about that was it was going this distance, 1 3/8 miles at Del Mar over this turf course for Michael McCarthy after moving into the Michael McCarthy barn. So distance and turf course should be no problem. He has to prove that he can win at this level, but he has a little back class to him as well.
He does, and what I've noticed most importantly since he's come out to California, different running style. He was up and on the pace in previous starts. Now they've taken him back, and he's finished very well in both of his starts. I think he's a big-time player on the class hike.
Truly, quality was so good last year, Scott. He won 3 in a row. He won 4 of 5 back-to-back graded stakes races. He's proven going 1.5 miles. He's proven at Del Mar, but he was off for a few months. He shows up in the San Marcos as the favorite, and he just doesn't fire. So now we have to worry about a horse coming off of a layoff. Now, his trainer is not worried about the distance at all. He actually said, I'd be more concerned starting him in shorter races off the layoff because those would probably be harder for him and make him work a little. But I usually need to see like a race to build up some fitness. I respect this horse's ability, but I think I'm just watching him in this spot on Saturday.
Pretty similar opinion. I'll just add to the fact that his 3 wins in his races before the San Marcos were all as the favorite. So they got big numbers, the biggest of his careers, but they were races he was expected to win. I think this will be one of, if not his toughest task ever.
Final Boss looks like the horn to catch in this race. He actually sat second, Scott, in the most recent win because there was a horse who ran off early on. Final Boss was a couple lengths behind, and then he moved to the lead. Now, this was going 1 mile, so this is much shorter, and you'll actually see the 11 Gold Phoenix. He's the number 2 in the race that we're watching. He actually runs a really good third to kind of set him up for this race. Final Boss looks like the one to catch, but I do think Gold Phoenix got a really nice prep race out of here to sharpen him up a little for this race.
Yeah, this is his 5th start off the layoff. To your point, we're talking about horses kind of pointing for this race. I don't think that was the case. This horse may be exceeding expectations a little. He's got a lot to prove, but he's going to get the lead, you would think.
Endlessly, he was a multiple graded stakes winner. He was really good early on in his career at 2 and at 3, but since the Kentucky Derby, Scott, he just hasn't progressed. He's only won for his last 5 in the money.
Yeah, disappointing, but understandable that they had to take that. They wanted to take that chance in the Derby. He was very, very good on other surfaces coming in, but certainly has not been the same since.
City Exile has won going 1 3/8 miles at Del Mar, but this is like much tougher company than what he's been facing recently.
Yeah, third off the layoff for him. Maybe could set him up for a career best, but that would be maybe good enough to hit the board here. Best case, one would think.
The 7-year-old Gold Phoenix. He's won this thing 3 times in a row. He's a grade 1 winner. He was 4th in the Breeders' Cup turf in back-to-back years, and he had a small skin irritation that forced him to start a little bit later. It was just bad timing, but he should come into this race prepped very well, Scott. The outside draw doesn't concern me because of his running style. He's just going to drop back and make one late run.
Yeah, and he gets Flavian Pratt aboard that start 2 back in the Turf Classic. He was down on the inside when you definitely wanted to be outside off the rail at Churchill on Derby Day.
We move to selections. Scott, I'm going to throw the 4 Stay Hot on top of Gold Phoenix, who I absolutely think is the horse to beat. Scott's going to go Gold Phoenix, then looking for a little bit of value in some other spots underneath. 11-6-8-4 for Scott, 4-11-5-8 for me. Don't go anywhere when we return the Del Mar Mile.
Here's a tip. Some machines and online games have higher average payouts than others. Want to try to maximize your odds? Well, do some research online to find games which have the highest RTP or return to player percentage. So now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
Devon Acham, calf issues are really tricky. I'm not saying he's going to be on the pup list or anything like that, but it is something to monitor. And he is a small running back, and I think chasing last season is just a problem. I can't take him over Derrick Henry at the end of the first round. I think it's crazy. And Ollie Gordon's a player we talked about. Here's the preseason stats for Ollie Gordon, Matt. 26 attempts, 126 rushing yards, 4.8 yards per carry, and a touchdown.
Fantasy only on SportsGrid.
Shohei Ohtani was minus 20,000, I believe, Tom, when we were talking last week. He's down to a minus 4,000, which I still think is fun. I don't know who say, now's the time to bet the minus 4,000 here and win some money. Schwarber's a 12-1 price, Machado 10-1, Soto 200-1. It's still going to be Ohtani's award here. They're not playing great baseball for the Dodgers, but I do find it funny. Like, what is the difference between minus 20,000 and minus 4,000? Who knows? Who's got that much money to play anyway?
Pro Baseball Today, only on SportsGrid.
Arch Manning is a 7-1 price to win it. You take a look at Cade Klubnik here for Clemson. He's a 9-1 price. Nussmeier. Then we see Jeremiah Smith. He ain't a quarterback, Joe. He's a wide receiver. Love those wide receivers.
Yeah, Ryan Williams is another one from Alabama.
Yeah.
Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams will battle it out for best wide receiver, potentially leading their teams to a college football playoff.
SportsGrid's College Football Today.
Final segment this week, we're going to go back in time a little bit to race number 5. It's the Del Mar Mile, and this one is 1 mile on the turf course, grade 2, $300,000 up for grabs, Scott. As we take a look at the field here, I think we have kind of a top tier of the milers. Formidable Man and King of Gosford have kind of stamped themselves over the last few months as the top horses in this division, but you have other horses like the 8 to the outside, a really interesting wild card who was the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile winner. Could you make a case for the 1 Nesso's Last Hurrah, who has inside speed, but I think there's other speed in this field?
There is. That's the concern here. Had things a lot easier last time out against lesser competition. Is third off the layoff, likes to win races, has run well over this course. We've seen more surprising, outcomes than this horse wiring out the field, but I think he's up against it a little bit.
I got to give Cabo Spirit a lot of credit, Scott. It seemed like he had tailed off form, and then his last 4 races in a row, all of them in the money, all in graded stakes races. He's shown that he can sit off the pace a little bit, and he's a real fighter. I just think he might be a tad below Formidable Man and King of Gosford, who just seem like they might have him measured in most of these races. But if there's not pace battles in races, this guy always shows up. He's super honest. My biggest concern is that the presence of Nesso's Last Hurrah, the presence of Full Serrano, if they're both in this race, that's going to make life difficult for Cabo Spirit.
Yeah, you covered the important points here. Very cool horse, $1.2 million, has pulled off upsets in the past, but they're usually when he has a major pace advantage.
We move to Almendares. This horse has actually run some of the faster races in the field. He needs a setup because he wants to come from out of it, Scott. So, as a closer, things need to go quick early on from him. But there are versions of this race where Nesso's Last Hurrah, Cabo Spirit, Full Serrano are all pushing each other. And Almendares gets a pretty nice setup. He's not far behind horses like Formidable Man, and King of Gosford in talent. It just comes down to the setup with him. He's not quite as versatile as those horses, right? They seem like they can be placed more in the race early. This guy kind of needs things to kind of set up, and then he'll make his late run.
Yeah, he ran well last time with the good setup and dropping into the restricted stakes company. I just wonder if he's good enough, even with the right trip, to outkick this field. But sometimes if you're making the last move, which he might be making, it might be the right one.
Formidable Man has just been so good as of late. He's won 2 of his last 3 graded stakes races. He's a multiple grade 1 winner. He's 5 for 5 at Del Mar. He loves this turf course, and he just seems like a horse who can sit close. He can be mid-pack. I think in the Shoemaker Mile, he ends up losing that race to King of Gosford. He was just a little too far back that day. No real knocks on this horse overall.
No, he's tough. I think the one thing you could ask is maybe is he the best at a mile, or does he want a little more distance? Overall, I think he's got brings the best resume and the best form coming into this field. And this is the kind of horse that Umberto Rispoli, who, people have, including myself, have been hard on for his rides at times on journalism. This is the kind of horse I think he fits absolutely perfectly.
Suchet was a runner-up on July the 26th at Del Mar. Scott, I thought he was going to win that race. I think the rider and connections may have too. What happened, he's saving all the ground inside, and he moves through, and he gets right to the front. Then there are 2 horses to the outside of him. He had the horse right to his outside measured, but the horse 2 horses outside of him, he may not have seen, and that is the horse who ends up beating him. If they go quick early, this horse will come flying late.
He's sneaky, I think, to me at least. Paco Lopez, this is what I was talking about. Love the move to Paco here. He's going to come in and mean business. I think this horse, second off the layoff, second off the plane, not the ship. I think Suchet has got a big shot.
Zio Joe comes off a runner-up effort behind Elmandaris. He's been a little bit unlucky, and you could just see he's not quite as good as some of his rivals in here. I could see a little class drop being something that could put him into the winner's circle.
Yeah, he just doesn't stack up well in terms of winning the race when it comes to the top contenders in here. He's been outkicked by them regularly, but 3rd or 4th maybe if the right setup.
7 straight top 3 finishes for King of Gosford. He won the Shoemaker Mile. Now, my only worry with him in this race is it felt like the Shoemaker Mile was the spot for him. That was his second start off the long layoff. It just felt like he was going to step forward there. Now he's had a couple months off. I wonder if they're kind of starting him here, Scott, in hopes to get him to the Breeders' Cup. So I respect him. I think he's right in the mix with the top tier contenders. But if you're just poking holes, he may not have that same recent form right now that he did just a few months ago.
That's very fair point. He does get the right jock. He is versatile, which allows Flavian basically to put him in the right spot. And he's won 7 of 17, so he likes to win. Hard to knock, but a good point by you.
Full Serrano rounds thing out. He won the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile last year. He's a real wild card, Scott, because he can fly early in races, and he would at least be part of the early pace in here.
Yeah, I wonder if this is a prep to get him started moving forward, thinking Breeders' Cup, maybe 2nd or 3rd off the layoff. But if it is or isn't, you would think he's going to be forward, and he could have a major outcome in the race. His class is obvious.
We round things out with selections for the Del Mar Mile. Scotty, I threw Almendaris on top. 3, 4, 7, 2 for me. Suchet, Scott's going price fishing in the Del Mar Mile. 5, 7, 4, 3. Whoever you play, however you play them, we wish you the best of luck on Saturday at Del Mar.
Playing online blackjack and want to try upping your odds? Well, here's a tip. Cheat cards tell you statistics for whether you hit or stand on every move. If you're into stats, this could be your ticket to winning. And it is totally legal. Now, go get lucky. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The Pirates use that thing, Joe. It's like once every 15 years, we'll hope for the perfect storm with lightning in a bottle, then we'll try to rebuild it again. Enough, man. In this day and age, with the prospects that you can certainly have by stinking every year and top-flight talent like you see in Paul Skeens, it's just a shame, and it gets on my nerves. Like, for me, being a Phillies fan, I think it's hilarious. Like, I never want Pittsburgh to be good. Why? Not because it's a rivalry. It's just a team you don't have to worry about in the playoffs, and your team can make the playoffs.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
The NFL has ruined the concept of trade requests. It's not real. It's just a negotiating tactic. I'd appreciate reporters changing the language, because in the NBA, when a player requests a trade, they get dealt. In the NFL, nobody actually thinks it matters. If Jacoby Myers is going to buck that trend, and if Jacoby Myers is going to get traded, we'll see where he goes.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
Hopefully starting in 2027, where I think the schedule could just completely get blown up, which would be so exciting for the fans, the players. So there's interesting things that I've heard that that would be like one of the first things that could say that people are talking about, and that things could really get changed up a little bit.
The Smiley Show, only on SportsGrid.